Hey guys, I'm Lou, and in today's video I will be reviewing Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware and telling you why it disappointed me. And don't worry, this will be a spoiler-free review. I picked up this book after two of my favourite booktubers who also have the same taste as me recommended it. I was actually in Waterstones and I came across this in the new hardback section and I was really conflicted as to whether or not I should buy it, and then my sweet boyfriend ended up buying this book for me and Queen of Nothing, and so I loved him again. But I was really conflicted about buying it myself because with me, I know that thrillers and mysteries are very much a one-time read. I don't appreciate a thriller or mystery the second time that I've read it because I know what's going to happen, so I appreciate the story less. And whilst I may appreciate the craft, it's not as an enjoyable experience as the first read. So chances are I was going to unhaul this book even if I absolutely loved it, because I mainly keep books which I want to reread in the future. In addition, unfortunately for me, my local library does not stock any of Ruth Ware's books. Before I get into the summary and review of this book, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my Depop where I put a lot of my books on there and I'm constantly adding new ones. The summary is as follows. When Rowan stumbles across the advert, it seems like too good an opportunity to miss. A live-in nanny position with a very generous salary. And when she arrives at Heather Bray House, she's smitten by the luxurious smart home outfitted with all the modern conveniences by a picture-perfect family. What she doesn't know is that she is stepping into a nightmare. One that will end with a child dead and her in a cell awaiting trial for murder. She knows she's made mistakes, but she is not guilty. At least not of murder, which means someone else is. Can you see how the plot of this mystery just sounds so interesting? This book is the sort of story where the mystery is localized. It's set 99% of the time in Heather Bray House, with the other 1% with the beginning and ending of the chapters referring to the present with Rowan's imprisonment. This means what I saw when I was reading this book, as the person who was terrorising Rowan was most likely to be one of the cast of characters localised in Heather Bray House. This book also has a supernatural aspect in the sense of like, is this supernatural? Is this house haunted by ghosts? Or is it a real life person making it seem that way? This book is a plot-based one. There's little development on anyone other than Rowan. You do see how her relationships with the children and the staff of Heather Bray House develop, but there is little focus on the characters themselves and their backgrounds. I didn't like this as it felt underdeveloped and could have been done better, but I also appreciate the fact that it could have been played out like this in real life. I think Rowan is literally there for a week or two before she's arrested, so it's literally a matter of days, and so it can be completely understandable why the staff would not be completely accepting of her yet. She is still seen like a stranger by the time that she's arrested, so she may not have had the time to have gotten to know her fellow staff. In addition, most of the time was spent with her looking after the children, and her employers were away with work, so I can justify why Rowan is the only one who is truly developed in this book. She's the only one we really know throughout the course of this one. And the main focus of this book is for Rowan to tell her story about why she got arrested and why she's innocent. I did enjoy this story, but I thought that it was an average thriller slash murder mystery. It's a slow-paced book because all the little things amount up to a creepy atmosphere. But even then, I wasn't scared. I think it's because there is a stark difference between me and Rowan, the main character. I don't think I would have applied for the job in the first place. It felt like it was a case to be too good to be true, and I felt like there was a number of times in the beginning where if I was in Rowan's situation, I would have left. I would have been the fifth nanny to have left the house. And the slow, scary atmosphere is things like losing a necklace, being locked out of the house, and not being able to sleep because of noises. The ending was just way too fast-paced, and it ended quite abruptly. I also think that this book could have had a more satisfying ending if it had 10 or even 5 more pages added to the end of this book. And whilst there was a resolution to the mystery, there wasn't a clear resolution as to what happened to Rowan. You can infer what happened, but I would have liked the ending to have been clearer because it took quite a lot of thought for me to realise what happened and what things meant for Rowan. The problem that I had with this book was that it didn't feel like a high stakes book for me. The first few pages are told from Rowan's prison cell. On the back it literally says that she is charged for murder of one of the children. So you knew that Rowan was going to survive the story of this book. I mean, yes, she will be incarcerated for murder, but at least she's alive. And because of all this, which you know before going into this book, I never felt worried about Rowan's safety, but we did know that one of the 4 children will die. But then I think the author creates the children to be really annoying and spoiled, and so I did not sympathise for any of them. I mean, it's probably a bad thing to say that I didn't connect with the children and that I didn't care that one of them got murdered, but that's how I felt. I only liked one of the 4 children which Rowan had to look after, and the rest I just felt were brats and I would not have been able to deal with them. And they were so manipulative, especially considering how old they were. Like, the oldest was 14 years old and the youngest was 18 months, and yet these children are criminals, like criminal masterminds. I think I would have been more invested if the children were portrayed in a different way, although it was interesting to see the children being able to outwit Rowan. However, don't get me wrong, I am happy to have read this book. I mean, I did want to read this book in one sitting and figure out everything that happened, and I was sad that I was unable to do that and I had to keep on putting the book down and enter real life. But then I also felt like I could put this book down for long periods of time, but I knew that I was going to finish it. It's a weird feeling. It was a mix of being interested in this book but also not really caring about what happens. I just want to know the ending. But before I read this book, I was really drawn to it because of the premise and because of the high praise. I was really intrigued at the story that this book would tell, and I thought about the book multiple times after I heard about it, so I knew that I was interested in this book, and that is a sign for me that I must buy a book. I was just unhappy with the journey of which this book took me on. It wasn't as satisfying or as shocking as I would have liked it to have been, but then I do want to say that the ending did catch me off guard, but then it does not justify reading this entire book to get to the ending, especially seeing as how I mentioned it before, it was on a very abrupt end. In regard to the characters, I liked Rowan the most. I did relate to her, and I think I would be like her as a nanny, minus being charged for murder. I didn't like the children because they were constantly hostile to Rowan, and it was difficult to like the children seeing as we were reading from Rowan's point of view. I didn't like the parents, but then I don't think you're supposed to. They're not good parents, and they were also very underdeveloped. I don't know about you, but if I was hiring a live-in nanny to look after my 4 children, I would have met the nanny at least more than once and would have had a trial period at the very least. That did not happen in this book. I did like the side characters of Jack and Jane, but I also felt they were very underdeveloped. But then it goes back to the point which I said previously, was that Rowan was not there long enough. But I also felt like they could have been more developed in general. Overall, I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I thought that this was a very average thriller slash mystery slash murder mystery for me, and that's why I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. I wouldn't really recommend it. I am afraid to pick up Ruth Ware's other works if this is praised as her best ever work. I think the concept is very cool and original, but I think the execution was lacking. It was essentially knowing that the mystery was hopefully going to be solved at the end, which kept me reading this book. So that was my review of Turn of the Key. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my Depop, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye!